True strength doesn't need to shout. It doesn't demand a spotlight or force its way into the room. It just is, and the world feels it. Most Sigma males don't even realize the quiet impact they have on others. They're not trying to look threatening or project dominance. There's no performance. What they carry is a grounded, unwavering presence, an energy so composed and so real that people sense it instantly, and often find themselves a little uneasy because of it. That's the paradox of the Sigma male. He moves differently. He speaks sparingly. He observes intently. And because he's not chasing approval or playing the social game, his presence cuts through the noise. It lingers. It unsettles, not through volume or aggression, but through clarity and stillness. Here's something to keep in mind as we go deeper. Most men spend their whole lives chasing attention, while the Sigma male naturally commands it without even trying. Curious how that works? Stick around. By the end of this, you'll see why it's not just behavior. It's a mindset shift most never even consider. He's unreadable, calm, and radically honest. He doesn't adjust his truth for the sake of being liked. And that fact alone draws a stark contrast in a world that rewards masks and crowd pleasing. In a society where conformity is survival and being seen is a constant need, a man who's genuinely at peace with standing alone becomes almost intimidating. But here's the deeper truth. That intensity you carry, that sharp focus, that refusal to pretend just to keep others comfortable, that's not something to hide. That's something to honor. You don't owe anyone a diluted, edited down version of yourself. You're not cold. You're just clear. You're not aloof. You've simply tuned out the noise. This isn't arrogance. It's not ego. It's self-knowledge. It's choosing not to shrink yourself just to help others feel bigger. And if that makes people uncomfortable, if they whisper or stay at a distance, so be it. Real power doesn't chase applause. It doesn't explain itself. It just keeps walking forward and quietly shakes the ground while doing it. Let's dive into it. 1. His eye contact feels like a scan, not a glance. Most people toss eye contact around like it's nothing. Quick, easy, like tossing coins at a crowd. But when a Sigma male meets your eyes, something shifts. It doesn't feel casual. It feels surgical. It's not that he's staring. It's that he's reading. He looks with a depth that says, I'm not just hearing your words. I'm seeing behind them. And that alone can freeze someone mid-sentence. Suddenly, you're hyper-aware of your own expression, your tone, your posture, because it feels like someone just hit the zoom button on your soul. This kind of presence isn't aggressive. He's not trying to make anyone squirm. He's just wired to observe. While most people are half distracted, checking their phones mid-conversation, the Sigma male gives his full, undivided attention. And that's rare. Rare enough to make even confident people shift in their seats. Because he notices the things others miss, the tiny hesitations, the quick eye flicks, the smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. He picks up on contradictions, tension, unspoken truths, without ever needing to ask. What's more, he's not judging. He's not labeling. He's just reading. Like a silent detective who doesn't need the full story to understand how it ends. So if you've ever seen someone get a little jumpy, laugh nervously, or trip over their words around you, it's probably not something you said. It's because you made them feel seen. And that level of clarity, that's unnerving for people used to being only half noticed. 2. He doesn't brag. His results speak louder than their personas. There's something quietly threatening about a man who achieves more, says less, and still commands more respect than those shouting from the rooftops. That's the Sigma male. While everyone else is busy curating their image, showing off wins, and name-dropping their way into social currency, he's in the shadows, working, improving, building, not for recognition, but for evolution. He doesn't need the applause. He doesn't fish for compliments or validation. Why? Because he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't need anyone's confirmation to keep going. That kind of grounded purpose makes people nervous, especially those who depend on likes, comments, and constant validation to feel worthy. He's the guy who finishes something before you even realized he started. No hype, no announcement, just excellence. While others perform, he executes. And that drives attention seekers insane. The irony? The more he resists the spotlight, the more magnetic he becomes. People can't help but watch. They whisper, "What's he doing? How's he pulling this off?" But he never gives it away. Because he's not addicted to being seen. He's obsessed with growth. And to him, growth is sacred. It's personal, not a performance. When he walks in and the room shifts, it's not because he declared his greatness. It's because his results left a trail behind him. No speeches, no need to explain, just undeniable presence. 3. His fierce privacy makes him dangerous. With most people, you can read them in a few minutes, what they want, how they feel, who they're trying to be. But a Sigma male, he's a sealed book with no title and no summary. He shares selectively, rarely, and only with purpose. Not to be mysterious, but to stay in control. Because when people can't figure you out, their minds start spinning. What's he thinking? What's his next move? Does he like me? Is he friend or threat? That uncertainty creates tension, because the unknown feels dangerous. And the Sigma male lives in that unknown. His silence isn't empty, it's full. Every quiet pause feels like a loaded question. Every unspoken thought is a mirror people don't want to look into. And that's what makes him powerful. Not because he's hiding anything malicious, but because you can't manipulate someone you can't read. You can't corner someone who doesn't reveal his next move. That privacy becomes armor. And behind it, he's free. Free to think. Free to move. Free to act without permission or interference. While others vent, overshare, or oversell, he listens. He reflects. His silence isn't weakness. It's strategy, a weapon, and it makes him the most unpredictable man in the room. 4. He's harder on himself than anyone else could ever be. The Sigma male's greatest pressure doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. He doesn't need criticism, because he already holds himself to a standard most people wouldn't dare attempt. There's no space for excuses, no tolerance for laziness, no blaming others or waiting for ideal conditions. If he fails, he owns it. If he stumbles, he recalibrates and rises stronger. His discipline is fierce, and it's personal. People around him who are used to soft boundaries, second chances, and vague promises often find themselves uncomfortable in his presence, because he doesn't accept mediocrity from himself or others. He sees right through the fluff, the dodging, the half effort. You can't BS him. He simply won't buy it. Not because he's trying to call you out, but because he can't stand anything that lacks integrity. His expectations aren't for show. They're not about proving something to others. They're the result of an internal contract with himself. And when a man holds himself accountable to that level, he becomes unshakable. That's why people either deeply respect him or quietly resent him. He makes others question their own standards. He's not looking to dominate. He just refuses to lower his values because he knows if he can master himself, no one else can truly control him. In a world obsessed with shortcuts and quick escapes, the Sigma male stands apart, not because he judges others, but because of the brutal expectations he sets for himself. That kind of relentless self-discipline shines a glaring light on everyone else's excuses. And that's what makes him quietly intimidating. He doesn't demand anything from those around him, because he demands everything from himself first. And that one simple truth changes the entire dynamic. Number 5. Women feel drawn to him, but most have no idea how to keep him. Here's the thing about Sigma males. They're like rare, antique volumes sitting unnoticed among endless rows of flashy paperbacks. Women are pulled toward them instantly, often without knowing why. It's not about loud entrances or grand gestures. It's something deeper, quieter, more magnetic. There's a rare blend of self-assurance, mystique, and raw authenticity that radiates from him. But once that initial spark catches fire, reality sets in. He's not the type of man you just lock down. He's not some prize for display or another item on a romantic checklist. He doesn't crave emotional babysitting. He's not glued to his phone waiting to text back. And he's certainly not here for reassurance or drama-laced games. That alone throws off anyone accustomed to chaotic love or control-based connection. More than that, he's unimpressed by typical power tactics, dominance moves, possessiveness, jealousy-fueled arguments, or micromanaging behavior. He sees those games for what they are, and he won't entertain them. When he loves, it's with depth and sincerity. But don't confuse his emotional intensity with possession. He refuses to be boxed in, silenced, or steered off course. Try that, and you'll see the exit before you even realize what happened. His freedom isn't just a trait. It's a non-negotiable part of who he is. That kind of self-possession unsettles a lot of people, especially those who think love means control. But for the Sigma male, love is built on something more sacred: respect, trust, and space. If you get that, then you understand him. If not, you're just another person trying to tame something that was never meant to be captured. And that's exactly what makes him so irresistibly desirable and so quietly intimidating. Number 6. People whisper behind his back because they don't have the strength to face him. Let's be real. Most people don't know how to respond to genuine strength. Not the loud, showy kind, but the quiet, unwavering kind that doesn't fold under pressure. And that's exactly what the Sigma male embodies. He doesn't beg for approval. He doesn't perform for applause. He doesn't even try to fit in. And that terrifies those who do. His presence rattles people who spend their lives wearing masks. But instead of confronting what unsettles them, they talk when he's not there. They speculate about his silence. They roll their eyes when he walks away. They twist his calm into arrogance, label his distance as coldness, and turn his independence into isolation, all because they can't understand him. Or worse, they do, and it shakes them to their core. Because deep down, they see something they can't mimic, someone who doesn't rely on their validation, someone who doesn't need the crowd to feel grounded. That's why they whisper. That's why they gossip. They think tearing him down will make them feel bigger. Spoiler alert, it never does. But the Sigma male, he doesn't waste his breath trying to explain himself. He knows that when people can't reach your level, they'll try to lower your name. And the fact that they don't dare do it to his face, that says more than any defense ever could. So if people are talking when he's not in the room, take it as a sign. His presence left a mark. His energy stirred something in them they weren't ready to confront. And that alone proves how powerful his silence truly is. Number 7. He doesn't sugarcoat. And that scares the performers. Some people spend their entire lives mastering the art of saying what sounds good. They polish compliments, water down honesty, and smile through empty small talk. But the Sigma male? He doesn't operate that way. He speaks with purpose, not performance. When something needs to be said, he says it. Not to shock, not to hurt, but because he values truth over comfort. And that level of honesty shakes people who survive on image. He's not going to nod and pretend to agree when your ideas make no sense. He's not going to clap for fake confidence. And he's not here to applaud anyone putting on an act. Around him, there's no space for ego stroking or carefully rehearsed charm. It just doesn't land. Those who rely on likability to get by feel exposed in his presence. Their scripts don't work. Their illusions collapse. Because the Sigma male doesn't care about polished appearances, he cares about what's real. That's why his words hit differently. Not because they're harsh, but because they're not sugarcoated. There's no warm-up, no softened edges, just clarity. But here's the twist. He's not cruel. He doesn't use honesty as a weapon. He just doesn't see the point in pretending. And for people who live in a world of flattery and filters, that kind of raw clarity can feel like a punch in the chest. So yeah, he might be labeled blunt, intense, even intimidating. But that's only because, unlike most, he's not trying to please. He's trying to be real. And in a world that hides behind politeness and pretense, that kind of honesty is louder than a shout. Number 8. He knows what people try to hide, and that unnerves them. There's something deeply unsettling about being around a Sigma male. You could be cracking jokes, telling a lighthearted story, smiling like everything's fine, and somehow, he'll catch the one thing you didn't say. He's not a mind reader, but he's dangerously observant. He picks up on energy shifts, tone changes, eye movement, body language, all the subtle signals most people miss. You might be presenting the perfect image on the outside, but if there's something off beneath the surface, he senses it. He doesn't need gossip. He doesn't wait for a confession. He can spend 5 minutes with you and already understand more than you meant to reveal. And the strange part? He won't say a word about it. He'll just sit there, sipping his coffee, while mentally connecting dots and decoding what's real. He doesn't do this to embarrass you. He's not here to expose anyone. But once he sees through you, he can't unsee it. That's terrifying for people who depend on charm, exaggeration, or manipulation to survive. Masks crumble in his presence. Pretending falls flat. And when someone who thrives on illusion realizes they're being quietly figured out, that's when the real fear kicks in. Because by the time you think you've got the upper hand in a conversation, he's already 10 steps ahead, reading between every line you didn't mean to write. And that's where the intimidation truly begins. Number 9. He stays calm during conflict. And that shakes people more than rage ever could. Most people fall apart under pressure. They yell. They storm out. They say things they later regret. But not the Sigma male. When tension rises, he drops into stillness. His voice lowers. His reactions slow. He becomes the eye of the storm, completely grounded while chaos swirls around him. And that calm? It's powerful. It slices through noise and panic like a knife. People expect explosions. What they get is silence, measured words, controlled expression. And that makes others feel off balance. Because when someone doesn't react the way they expect, they lose their script. They don't know how to proceed. The usual tools, anger, guilt, blame, don't work. And that unnerves them more than any outburst could. The Sigma male's calm isn't weakness. It's control, mastery, presence. And when you're standing in front of someone who refuses to be rattled, who won't stoop to emotional warfare, you realize you're not in control of the conflict. They are. There's a kind of calm that speaks louder than any outburst. And that calm is far more powerful than anger. Why? Because it catches people off guard. Most individuals brace themselves for an explosion, expecting a heated reaction or an emotional breakdown when tension rises. But instead, the Sigma male offers them silence or a deliberate, composed response. It's like witnessing a grandmaster in chess, strategically planning 3 moves ahead, while everyone else is busy flipping the board in frustration. That level of restraint doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it leaves people feeling exposed, especially those who weaponize loud emotions to gain control or dominate a room. The calm of a Sigma male isn't rooted in passivity or apathy. It's rooted in deep self-mastery. He understands one fundamental truth. The moment you lose your temper, you lose control. So he doesn't take the bait. He lets others burn themselves out, trapped in their own emotional chaos, while he remains steady, sharp, and fully present. And in doing so, he completely changes the dynamic of conflict. After all, what's more unsettling than a raging storm? The eerie silence that comes before it. That charged stillness when you know something powerful is approaching, yet you can't quite predict what's coming next. That's what the Sigma male embodies in a confrontation, unmoved, unshakable, and impossible to provoke. People who rely on shouting, manipulation, or theatrical displays to win an argument find themselves at a loss. Because in moments of emotional chaos, he doesn't add to the noise. He takes the air out of the room. And that's where his power lies. True strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it's found in total, controlled silence. Number 10. He's not always available, and that's by design. It's not that he's too busy. It's not that he's trying to prove a point. It's that he values his peace more than most people understand. In a world where everyone is constantly plugged in, answering every call, replying to every message, attending every event even when they're mentally drained, the Sigma male chooses differently. If he doesn't feel aligned with a space, a conversation, or a person, he simply won't engage. Not out of rudeness, not as a statement, but because his inner harmony matters more than social expectations. He guards his time like others guard their reputation. His attention isn't available on demand, and his presence isn't something people can take for granted. And here's where it gets even more puzzling for others. He doesn't offer explanations. He won't send a text to justify his absence. He won't give a detailed reason for why he stepped back. He'll just leave, quietly, without drama, without a word. This kind of selective presence rattles people, especially those who are used to being chased, constantly reassured, or emotionally catered to. They interpret silence as rejection. But for him, silence is sanctuary. It's how he detoxes his mind, protects his focus, and filters out the noise of modern life. His absence isn't manipulation, it's a boundary. And what unsettles people most is realizing they don't have access to him just because they want it. When someone no longer needs your attention, your company, or your validation, that's when you realize how little power you actually had. That's what makes the Sigma male so rare. He's not just unavailable, he's unreachable. Not in a cold, arrogant way, but in a grounded, self-respecting way. And when he walks away, he doesn't leave a mess. He leaves a silence so strong, it lingers like a presence. Number 11, he doesn't tolerate repeated disrespect, and he doesn't make a scene. You won't see the Sigma male airing grievances on social media. You won't catch him arguing in public or delivering some dramatic final speech. That's not how he moves. If someone crosses his line once, maybe he'll let it slide. Maybe. But do it again, and that connection is severed. No warning. No confrontation. Just quiet distance. That kind of clean break leaves people spinning because they don't get to defend themselves. They don't get a final conversation. They just wake up one day and realize he's no longer there. And that absence, that void, cuts deeper than any words could. He doesn't need to announce his exit because his presence already spoke volumes. When he pulls away, it's like the atmosphere shifts. The energy changes. It's sudden, undeniable, and it stings. And it's the silence that hurts most. You see, he's not walking away out of spite. He's doing it to preserve his energy, his peace, his dignity. He doesn't waste emotional fuel on those who continually step on his boundaries. His time is finite. His patience has limits. And disrespect isn't something he's willing to entertain more than once. Those who thrive on emotional chaos don't know what to do with this kind of quiet ending. It doesn't give them closure or control. It leaves them confused, and that confusion is part of the Sigma male's quiet power. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. Being a Sigma male has nothing to do with trying to intimidate others. It's not about chasing dominance or craving attention. It's about being so deeply grounded in your identity that the chaos around you can't shake your foundation. Your calmness? It unsettles those who thrive on drama. Your silence? It echoes louder to people who constantly perform for approval. And your independence? It challenges anyone who's terrified of being alone with themselves. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't born to entertain. You're not here to beg for validation. You're here to live fully, solid, centered, and clear in who you are. What truly unsettles people isn't your strength. It's the mystery behind it. It's that they can't figure you out. You move on your own terms. You think in ways they don't expect. And that kind of inner freedom, it leaves a mark. It makes you unforgettable. So let them whisper. Let them question. Let them project whatever they want. What will stay with them the most is how your presence made them feel, especially when you said absolutely nothing. Don't shrink to make others feel tall. Don't trade your depth for shallow praise. Don't sell out your authenticity just to be accepted. This world is already drowning in noise. But you're the silence that slices through it all. Because being a Sigma male doesn't mean being cold. It means carrying a power so profound, so centered, that it speaks without needing words. So move with intention. Stay sharp. And never apologize for the stillness that surrounds you like armor. Because those who truly get you won't fear your presence. They'll be inspired by it. If this resonates with your mindset, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Epic Persona, where we explore the truth beneath the surface.